very lucky I can get that photographer back. In the meantime, we're going to not strain ourselves in settling, but we're going to settle for Stanley H. Barkan. Stan is a real treat, and we're very lucky to have him here because he's got a schedule that would drive any man crazy. As the head of cross-cultural communications, he goes all over the world in search of the finest poetry in every conceivable language. And he works very hard, and you've been doing this for what, 25 years now?
It's the 25th anniversary in 1976, yeah.
What was the first language that you worked with that wasn't English?
Was Hebrew.
Hebrew. All right, let's see. You've done what, 50 different ethnic, language, national, and cultural groups, 100 titles?
No, it's over 250 titles now.
Oh, this is an old bio then.
No, that's the cross-cultural review series. Is over 100 titles in just that series, yes.
I'll figure it out. I think I'll let you talk about it then.
Okay.
Listen, anybody slip any dirty words in you in a foreign language?
No, but they did in English. Charles Simic ended one of his poems with the F word.
Fire truck?
I didn't publish that book.
I see. Well, you can never tell about us crazy poets. And Stan is also a very accomplished poet in his own right, and I want to emphasize that point. And let's have a poem.
Okay. This is from the Garden of Eden. It's now it was originally in a broadside, and in this book, the first part in the black line scroll later appeared in Modern Poems on the Bible and on Prejudice. The drawing here is by Alfred Van Loon.
You can hold it up if you like.
Okay. As yet unborn. Oh, to be Adam again, with all his ribs, yearning for a woman as yet unborn, mouth free of the taste of apples, ears without the hiss of snakes, mindless of nakedness and shame, in the garden of gentle creatures, waiting for a name. Second part is called First Birth. Covered with leaves, she rises out of the earth. She first, not Adam. How much more likely, more provable, he from her pit than she from his rib? It was a man who wrote the myth from the Garden of Eden.
And that's when they discovered that Eden needed Whedon. So, well, I lost that one up. All right. What inspired this?
Well, the first part of this I wrote actually about 20 years ago. I really consider that first part a kind of Gewalt. And I actually was thinking back to a time before I met my wife, who was an absolute angel. I thought how impossible it is to meet a woman who would be who would be a kind of companion to me and in my work and in my life.
And take a lot of ribbing too. I
guess. So I wrote that poem one night. I called up Menke Katz, who was a great Yiddish poet and also wrote in English, and I read it to him, and he said, "That's your best poem." And I wrote 9 poems that night. Each one, he said, was better than the other. Which one this one was in that sequence of 9, I don't remember. The second part I wrote many years later, but I put the two together and subsumed it under the title From the Garden of Eden.
Well, we'll keep that bit of history shrouded for the moment, and let's go on to another poem.
Okay. Actually, you could say the first part of this was the man's point of view, and the second part was the woman's point of view. But there's yet another point of view about creation. Cat's Eden. Does man play with the cat, or does the cat play with man? Wrote Montaigne. Anyone who owns a cat knows the answer to that question. When the first cat crawled up on a rock in Eden, he cautiously considered all the creatures about him. closing his eyes at too much sun pouring through the leafy overgrowth. He licked his front paws, rubbed his ears, curled his tail around him, and purred. Well, this one I'll call man, that one woman. Just right for 2 pets in my garden. They will serve me milk and catnip and caress me whenever I wish. Now it's time to play mouse and cat. On second thought, after lunch.
Ah, meow.
Garfield.
Meow illuminating. Well, there are cats, and then there are cats. By the way, what has 4 legs and chases cats?
4 legs and chases a dog.
No, Mrs. Katz and her lawyer. After easy, Jane, easy. After a line like, I might remind the crew to take it to steady on back there. We have a show to do. What, speaking of gags like that, what is the most amusing or embarrassing moment you've had in 25 years of cross-cultural communications?
The most amusing?
Yeah.
The most amazing.
Besides slipping the books past customs,
I think appearing at events like this.
Well, that covers the embarrassing part. Anyway, how about another poem?
Okay. Let's see. Let's take it from something else now.
Why me, he asks.
Well, just in case from that last poem
Yeah.
that you think that I'm a feminist, let me read this one. Let us praise women after Donald Hall. Let us praise women. Women who devour men after impregnation and the duties of fatherhood. Women like Kronos, who eat their children, like the Olympians ate part of Pelops, like the lobsters in the chamber of death consume their tiny offspring. Let us praise women. Women who alter with the phases of the moon, cyclically change with the fall of leaves, the coming of snow like sperm from the skyland, the blossoms that bloom out of the stone coverings of winter. Let us praise women. Women who bleed in monthly madness, estrously exploiting biblical heritage. Women who persist in picking and biting apples filled with seeds forbidden by cranky old creators. Let us praise women who permit men to be free of concubinage, free of the pain of actual ontogeny, free to create in joy, free to flit about the flowers of the garden, pollinating all the lilies of the field. Let us praise women for not being men, for permitting men to be without being women.
You must have been eating praisin bread before you came on the show. Where did that come from, for crying out loud?
It's curious how sometimes how a poem evolves, but I sometimes work with my computer, and I was thinking, I was going over these poems from the Garden of Eden, and I was thinking how people said, oh, he's a feminist. And just one line just led to another. It wasn't a very positive thought about women at the time, although I have every reason to feel very positive about women now after more than 31 years of very happy marriage with my wife, B.B. Barkan.
He has to say that, folks, let me tell you.
Oh, I don't. No, I don't.
After a poem like that, I'm gonna have to let Jane get in and for a moment. I think we've been seeing things, haven't we? And you have a poem on that?
Yes, I suppose this in a way unexpectedly continues this little dialogue that you just began with the last one.
Uh-oh.
Not directly, but
Now you've done it.
it helps to balance things out a tiny bit. It's called Sea Thing, S-E-A hyphenate, C-H-I-N-G. The sea lies heavy on the belly of the earth, sperming the coral caverns with quick small fish, a restless lover, lipping spittly kisses and telling wind-borne lies. And the land arches her back and shuts her eyes, not knowing or not caring that his salt breath rusts the roses on the shore, and he pockets the golden dunes on his way out the door.
That'll teach you. Thank you, Jane. Getting back to Stan Barkan, what are the hot projects coming up for Cross Cultural?
All right. Well, next week, on December 12th, at the Jewish Museum, David Curzon will be reading from a book I published of his called Midrashim. And that was the basis of his getting an anthology with the Jewish Publication Society, Modern Poems on the Bible. He'll be reading from that as well. Recently, following up on that, he's written midrashic poems based on the New Testament called The Gospels in Our Image. The books that we do, very smallish books, are intended to be a kind of hors d'oeuvre, a kind of introduction to a particular author or language or a culture or a nation. And if they want more, people want more, they have this hors d'oeuvre. So, and sometimes it results in a big success like this. So December 12th, 6:30 p.m. at the Jewish Museum on 5th Avenue, 92nd.
Except with our schedule, that'll be a couple of months ago.
Well, okay.
That's how it goes. But these small books fascinate me, though. How small are they? I sound like a Johnny Carson.
Well, generally they're 48 pages, 5.5 by 8.5. And they're produced in regular paperback and hardcover and limited edition. And we used to do them in mini size also, about this size.
Yeah.
A project like this we're going to be working on next May in Sicily will be bilingual and trilingual editions of many of the authors we published and many new authors, perhaps yourself.
Hold on, let me flatterer. Let me see that. Yeah, this is great. You know what you could do is you could get one of those little plastic capsules and then sell them in gum machines. And you could really mass market. I mean they're small enough and. Lampioni.
Well, actually, we're planning to put them in cans and have canned poems between peas and beans in the supermarket.
I'm all for that. How about another poem?
Okay. This one's called Immortality, and I've written it as a footnote after Donald Lev, who's a noted poet from New York, one of the co-editors of Home Planet News.
Oh, yeah, I got to do him one of these days.
I'm going to read it in his manner.
In a nice way.
The wife of a director of a gallery named Nicola Visner she's a psychiatrist, and she told us about, my wife and I, at a dinner, that she had a patient who tried to commit suicide. He jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, but didn't die. I jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge twice. But I failed. I didn't die. The Guinness Book of World Records called me up, said I should try again. If I lived, I'd set a record. So I jumped a third time and succeeded. At last, I've achieved immortality.
He hit the water and bounced, friends. That's a legend about the East River. Well, Stan, when are you going to start doing the interplanetary series of Cross Cultural?
When the extraterrestrial visits me.
They haven't gotten
I
around.
fear he's going to visit the planet, though, at some point, and he's going to find some of the little books I publish, or the cassettes, or the video, or the boxes I've done, and he's going to look at them and he's going to say, "Ooh, what a wondrous thing was man! Whatever happened to him?"
In which point, he will take the books, put them on a bagel with a little cream cheese, and...
getting into my Jewish roots.
Yes. Well, mine too. Poetry is meant to be digested. I'd like to slip in one more little poem of yours, if you got it.
Okay. All right. A little one.
Yeah. Something that'll fit in the book there.
Okay.
That looks promising.
Okay.
All poets shuffle papers.
Okay. Sorry. Just a little one. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't
losing time.
Make one up.
I have it.
This is what happens when you try to publish in 50 languages, you know? All right, while you're looking, I'll read one. Fertility goddess.
I've got it.
I've never seen a purple cow, a horsefly, or a fertility goddess impregnate a man. Your turn.
Okay. My wife says, after Hal Surowitz, who writes about his mother, my mother says, Don't try to pass that car, my wife says. If you do, we'll get hit on my side, and I'll get killed, but you'll survive. Then you'll be all alone, and after a while you'll be so lonely you won't want to live anymore. Then you'll call Dr. Kevorkian, who'll help you to commit suicide, and probably be put on trial because there's a law against it in New York. Then nobody else who needs to end this suffering will be able to do it, all because you didn't listen to me.
So I'll listen next time. On that happy note, I want to thank you, Stan Barkan, for coming on Poet the Poet, and thank you to Jay Murphy for making this one of the more memorable shows in the series. And until next time, this is Robert Dunn thanking the Kitchen Cabaret for letting us come in and make public spectacles or other things out of ourselves. And so, until next time, we'll be seeing you, I hope, I guess.